man for the capital city. He is married. He's married. He's married. He's married to the former Lydia Gale Cole, and they are the proud parents of 2 children. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our speaker a round of applause. John A. Ford.
Well, good evening. I want to thank Brother Cox for that, Brother Hayes for that warm introduction, and it's really great to be here. I also want to give my honor to the dais members up here at the head table, and also the members of the clergy who are here on the dais and may be in the audience, because the Lord knows in times like these we need as much prayer as we can lay our hands on. I want to thank my good friend Reginald Moore for the occasion that got him tapped on the shoulder. And I also want to thank my other good supervisor friend, Brother Robert Collins, who came up to greet me a few minutes ago. Robert, I assume you're somewhere in the audience still. I like your board of supervisors. Y'all are pretty colorful. Y'all Reginald is taken off. There he is. Y'all keep it fresh. On the Leflore County Board of Supervisors. I also want to thank the new mayor, Mayor Cox. He has a good job for our board. And my advice to you, brother, is hang with things that will get better. And you have a vision for this city, and the people elected you because of your vision for the city. And I assume that pretty soon your council is going to get on board. I also want to thank my brothers of Phi Beta Sigma. They're the good-looking guys over here wearing all that blue. And to Brother Sims, who made sure I knew that the brothers of Sigma were going to be in the house. I want to thank Brother Sims. I also would like to thank members of another special fraternity that I belong to, and that is the Mississippi State Senate. Robert Jackson is a former senator. He got tired of it and handed it to his son Reginald, who's now the senator from up in the Mars area. I'd like to give both of them and Robert's lovely first lady a shout out. And to the honoree of the night, he was the dean of the Senate, and he was the de facto leader of the black members of the Senate and the members of the Senate who called themselves Democrats. And that's the honoree, the Honorable Senator David Jordan. Now, Ms. Ware, you did redeem yourself with that last joke. That one was funny. They all were funny. But you're doing a wonderful job carrying the program forward. And to you, the members of the Greenwood Voters League, I want to say thank you especially, because you've been hard at it for, 60 years? And the fact that you've been able to keep this organization going under the leadership of David Jordan and others in this room and in the community says a lot about your community, says a lot about you. And I'm not going to talk long tonight. I don't really have a prepared speech. But I do want to make a couple of observations. We are living at the tail end of the second Reconstruction. You might recall that after slavery, we got the right to vote. Men did, not women, but black men got the right to vote. They got the right to own property, to be elected to office, to be a part of the representative democracy or representative republic that we call America. And they made great progress. But then along, in Mississippi's case, along comes 1890, which was preceded by what was called the Reign of Terror, where our families were terrorized. Things like the Black Code were implemented, where our rights and privileges were so slowly eroded. And then with the 1890 Constitution, the state of Mississippi formally disenfranchised us, took away our right to vote, made it harder for us to own property, made it hard for us to be independent. And what we got was de facto slavery called Jim Crow law. And members of our military led the charge several decades later. They'd gone to Europe and seen how much better life could be. And they brought those ideals of freedom back home. And they were the first men on the battlefield, the first people on the battlefield for civil rights in this country in the 20th century. Started in the 40s. And we hit our stride in the mid-60s with the civil rights movement. But it started in really the late 30s. And in the mid-60s, we saw great things happen to us. We saw the Voting Rights Act being passed, the Civil Rights Act being passed. We saw in 1954 the desegregation of our schools by the Supreme Court. We saw that we had protection of our voting rights with Section 5 of the Civil Rights Act. And things got better. The country's purse strings opened up to us. And we had opportunities for better education, opportunities to get involved in the federal system, to get jobs that were decent. We got better health care. We got better access to housing. All those wonderful things. And you know, I'll just be honest. I didn't think we'd ever go back. I didn't think that this country was in a position where it would ever want to take us back. And along comes the 21st century. And what we are seeing now is, again, an erosion of our rights, privileges, access to this country's wonderful economy. And they are deliberately and methodically trying to roll the clock back. Now, what that tells me with the election that we saw almost a year ago, what that election tells me is that these folks are really, really mad. And they think that just because we are making progress means it's somehow slowing them down. That it's somehow taking away some right that they have. And the privileges that you know, what kills me about it is that before this election, you know, they still had most of the power. They had most of the money. The gap was widening between blacks and whites who have home ownership the decision making in the country was still largely in their hands, but because of gains that we made, there was this deep and abiding resentment. And I don't blame the man who's in the White House. I blame the folks who voted for him, who support this new belief system, because he has no power other than what they give him. He has no power other than what we give him. We have some culpability in this because we didn't get out and vote in the numbers that we had to make sure that our rights and privileges would remain protected. And now, diversity, equity, and inclusion are dirty words. Now, we have a situations where our state auditor will take 3 of our finest organizations and throw stones at them because they're making a difference in young people's lives. And he uses words like, it's a shame that they're doing these things in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. When you're talking about 100 black men, when you're talking about a foundation that's trying to uplift young people who are underprivileged, when you're talking about someone who has an illness and they're just trying to make sure that they get the same rights and privileges of access to health care as everybody else. And it's now that they are now dirty words. So we have a wake-up call, y'all. This is a wake-up call. And the only thing that I know is that we're going to come back together. We're going to have to lean on each other now more than ever in our lifetime. We have to lean on one another because this country is telling us that we don't matter. This country is saying that whatever programs, whatever practices, whatever means of helping someone realize the American dream, they ain't down with that anymore. Our state is essentially saying many of the same things. But what I say about America is that it just got Mississippified. Because we've been dealing with this at the state level for a long time, and as members of the Senate, we had an up close and personal seat to witness how our legislature, which is, in my opinion, the most impactful body for the good and for the bad that we have in this state. The legislature reflects the mood, the character, the sense of priorities more than any other organization in the state because they set the policy. They decide where the money's going to go. They decide what the laws are and what we hold true and dear to our hearts. And in both cases, at the federal level and at the state level, it's about preservation of the status quo. We like things just the way we are with us being in charge, and we're going to do everything we can to stay that way. And so the message to us is that we better figure out how to get back together. That's the message. We have to lean on our churches and our faith-based organizations now more than ever. We have to lean on each other's businesses. If you have a business, I need to support your business. You need to support my business. Because we're going to, as Benjamin Franklin once said, when the founders of this country signed the Declaration of Independence, they did it under threat of death because it was considered to be treason what they did when they signed that Declaration of Independence. Benjamin Franklin said, we must all hang together or we shall all hang separately. We cannot allow folks to continue to divide us. We cannot allow each other to continue to divide us. We have got to get together. You know, I wasn't going to run for mayor again. I had run 3 times before. And just like Mayor Cox, persistence finally paid off for me. I called myself the little engine that could. Because, you know, after that 3rd time, you know, I said, I've had it. But I realized something, and through the encouragement of people in my city, they said, look, you need to do it again. I believe you're going to make it this time. We're going to elect you this time. And then the folks started to double down. They said, look, John Horn, the Lord told me to tell you to run. And you don't want to disobey the Lord. So my wife and I had a long talk about it, and we decided we were going to do it. And before we went in officially, put our name down, we had a prayer, and we put that election in God's hands. Because we knew that there wasn't any way we were going to make it on our own. So we got to put ourselves in God's hands. But that doesn't mean we can't put in the work. I cannot afford to put in the work. We have to put in the work. And I realized something about that. We are in a position right now where the federal government is telling us you cannot depend on us. You can't depend on Social Security. You can't depend on Medicaid. You can't depend on Medicare. You can't depend on the courts. You can't depend on the White House. You can't depend on Congress. And the state is telling us the same thing. You can't depend on the governor. You can't depend on the lieutenant governor. You can't depend on the legislature. You can't depend on the public education system the way we once could. So that tells me that we got to go back local. We have to get our house in order at the local level. And so I truly believe that my being elected is God ordained. I think that God is going to use me as His servant to try to bring my community together in ways that's never been together before. Y'all been to Jackson lately? You see what's happening in our community, what's happening with our young men. They represent the most danger to public safety we have in our community. Why is it that our young men are the ones we have to fear? We don't have to fear the Klan right now. As far as I can see, we're doing the work of the Klan in ways that the Klan never probably even conceived. We got to figure this out. We have to get control of our community once again. We have to make sure that our communities look the way we want them to look. We have to make sure that our streets are paved the way we want them to be paved. We have to make sure that our water and wastewater is of a quality that is humanly it's fit for human consumption, or in the case of the sewer, that stuff goes where it's supposed to go. We have to make sure that we build the community that we want to live in. And that happens at the local level. And that's why it's so important for a man like Mayor Cox to be supported. We have to lift him up. We have to lift him up. We ain't got no business fighting amongst each other. We need to figure out how we can. Now, we can disagree, but we got to figure out how we can do so agreeably, and how we need to keep our eye on the ball, keep our eyes on the prize. And if we do that, then whatever is happening at the state level, whatever is happening at the federal level, don't mean a hill of beans, because we have our act together right where we live. We have our commitment to supporting one another no matter what. That is our challenge right now. It's got to happen at the local level. Our churches have to step up. Our communities have to step up. Our neighborhoods have to step up. Our families have to step up. Or else we're going to hang separately. Now, the other thing that I've said my piece on that, but I also want to talk about my friend, Senator David Lee Jordan. You know, I was thinking as I was trying to prepare my thoughts about coming up here, and you know, last time I was at the Greenwood Voters meeting, your homegirl, Tommy Stewart, was the guest speaker. Tania Stewart is her stage name, but you know, she was on In the Heat of the Night and a lot of other productions. Very well-known actress. She's over in Montgomery now, in retirement from being the Dean of Liberal Studies at Alabama State University. And I came up to deliver a poem. Folks say, you know, I like to act a little bit. I'm a bit of a ham. And I came up to David wouldn't let me speak. He said, "No, boy, you ain't ready to speak yet." But he would let me come up to recite a poem, and that's what I came up to do. I'm glad I've gotten elevated to where I can do more than just recite a poem. But you know, David Jordan has a lot of witticisms. I call them witticisms. His mother wit is stuff that he'll say like, "Don't let the doorknob hit you when the good Lord split you." You know, he'll say, "Don't let the sirens catch you." Or he'll say, "You got diarrhea of the mouth and constipation of the brain." I think that's his favorite word because he uses it quite a bit. But it's common sense, commonsensical things that he shares in a witty kind of way. But it makes sense when you really think about it. Too many of us run off at the mouth without having thought about what it is that we're going to say. But I remember when I first met David Jordan, it was at Little Zion MD Church. He probably doesn't even remember me. We were doing a dedication of a grave marker for Robert Johnson, the great blues man. And Robert Johnson is given credit for really inventing the blues and creating a distinct sound that became the basis for world music right here in the Mississippi Delta. And I think about this book that Bill Ferris wrote called "Give My Poor Heart Ease." And the person was talking about why I sing the blues. I just need something to give my poor heart ease because the world is full of trouble. And that speaks of the existence and the life that so many of our people have had to endure, especially in a place called Mississippi. And, you know, I think that the reason that David Jordan is such a fighter is he's got to do something to give his poor heart ease. He's got to do it to give you and me and our hearts ease. And David is such an humble man, full of gratitude. And the gratitude, I think, is what opened his kingdom of greatness. You know, greatness is not the objective of a person's work. Greatness is a result of your work. You do the work, you find greatness. And the result of your work is not to be served, but is to provide service. And the service is not about him, but it's about us. This is a great man. This is one great man. I don't know battles this man has fought for us. How many lawsuits, dozens upon dozens of lawsuits against the government to try to bring about fairness to the black man and the black woman in this country. Dozens and dozens of lawsuits against our education system. You know, if you think about it, he should have been run out of town long ago. In fact, I think they tried to a few times, David. But David has worked for the people who needed a song to sing, to give their poor heart ease. He worked for the folks who worked in the morning when they could not even see the sun come up, until they got home in the evening when the sun had gone down. He worked for men and women who lived in a system where their voices were not allowed to be heard above whisper. But for people who had something to say and who had something to sing that truly changed the world. The work of David Jordan is about throwing the shackles of slavery, Jim Crow, de facto segregation off their hands and off their feet, to get to the point where they would have access to power and control. Power to determine their own destiny. Power to control the resources that they're entitled to. But he also represents the voice against self-doubt. And you know, we have a lot of self-doubt in our community sometimes. It's what's holding us back. We don't think that we can do it. We have misgivings about it. We have people who, even members of our own community, sometimes will throw rocks at you for you're trying to do something different, for you're trying to make a difference in the world. And who march to the beat of a different drum. I just don't know if we could ever thank David enough. Because he understood why he did what he did, no matter whether anybody else did. Sometimes he might be marching, and it was just him. Sometimes there's a few people. It wasn't the whole community. They had misgivings. They may have had self-doubt. They may have been afraid. But this man marched on. This man persevered. And we owe him a world of gratitude. There is a small token of Senator David Lee Jordan. But I have a proclamation. Now, it's not a Senate concurrent resolution, because that ain't there no more. But one of the things that as mayor of Jackson I can do is issue proclamations. And so as mayor of Jackson, I'm going to it's not long, so I'm going to read most of it here. Whereas David Lee Jordan has served more than 33 years in the Mississippi State Senate, representing District 24 with unwavering integrity and passion for justice. And whereas Senator Jordan, born in the Mississippi Delta to sharecroppers, overcame early hardship to graduate from Mississippi Valley State University, earned advanced degrees, and I'll tell you, at the University of Wyoming, where he taught folks how to fry fish, and dedicated over over 30 years to teaching science in Mississippi. And whereas Senator Jordan was a pioneering leader serving 36 years on the Greenwood City Council as one of the first black members and advocating for voting rights, educational equity, and the removal of the Confederate emblem from our state flag. And whereas Senator Jordan has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to uplifting both people and public policy, championing equity and the advancement of historical black colleges and universities. And whereas his retirement marked the close of an era, but his legacy of service, character, and community uplift will endure for generations. Now, therefore, I, John Horn, Mayor of Jackson, on behalf of the City of Jackson, do hereby honor Senator David L. Jordan for his lifetime of distinguished service, resilience, and dedication to the state of Mississippi. Senator Jordan, I'm going to bring this down to you, sir. You don't need to come to me, I'm going to come to you. Now, I'm not going to leave here without reciting that poem. I do not know the power of my hand. I do not know the mighty power of my black hand. I sit slumped in the conviction that I'm powerless. Tolerate ceilings that make me bend. My godly mind stoops. My ambition is crippled. I do not know the mighty power of my black hand. I see the power over my life and death in another man's hands. And sometimes I shake my woolly head and wonder, Lord, what would it be like to be free? We must protect our ancestors and the living. But when I know the mighty power of my black hand, I will snatch my freedom from the tyrant's mouth. Know the first taste of freedom on my eager tongue. Sing the miracle of freedom with all the force of my lungs. Christian my black land with exuberant creation. Root submission and dependence from the soil of my soul, and pitch the monument of slavery from my back when I know the mighty power of my black hand. Harriet Tubman, woman of earth, sun shining, mean to be free. Come ride on my train through swamp and Savannah. First stop Mercy and the last Hallelujah. Mean to be free. Won't it? Harriet Tubman, alias the General, alias Moses, stealer of slaves, in league with Garrison, Olcott, Emerson, Garrett, Douglas, Thoreau, armed and known to be dangerous. Wanted, dead or alive. But when I know the mighty power of my black hand, I will snatch my freedom from the tyrant's mouth. Know the first taste of freedom of my native tongue. Sing the miracle of freedom with all the force of my lungs. Christian my black land with exuberant creation and root submission and dependence from the soul of my soul, and pitch the monument of slavery from my back when I know the mighty power of my black hand. We must protect our ancestors and the living, recalling and being in touch with our greatness through words, music, arts, the sciences, all facets of life, to ensure that we keep the future strong for those who will one day call us ancestors.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've got more jokes, but I think I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. But that doesn't mean I don't have more things to tell you. The first thing I'd like to know is, if you have any awards, certificates, or plaques to be presented this evening, please bring them to the podium now. I'd also like to point out that the appointed and elected officials will now be recognized by Mr. Robert Sims. And I also want to tell you about, I just found out that inoculation was introduced to America by an enslaved African. All y'all knew that? I don't believe all y'all knew it, so I'm going to tell you about it. Few details are known about his birth. It's assumed he was born in Africa in the late 17th century and was trafficked to Boston, Massachusetts. He was one of the thousands of enslaved Africans living in the colony, and he was a gift from the church to Minister Cotton Mather's in 1706. Cotton Mather's named him Onesimus. Onesimus told Mathers about the centuries-old African practice of extracting material from an infected person and scratching it into the skin of an uninfected person. You could deliberately introduce virus into a healthy person, making them immune. He described to Mathers the process of inoculation that had been performed on him and thousands of others in his society. Now, this process was considered extremely dangerous in the colony at the time, but Mathers convinced a doctor, Dr. Zabdel Boylston, to experiment with this procedure when a smallpox epidemic broke out in Boston in 1721. Over 240 people were inoculated. The process was opposed politically, religiously, and medically. Public reaction to the experiment put Mathers and Boylston's lives in danger, but the survival rate for those that were inoculated was in stark contrast to those that were not inoculated. They even used this practice of inoculation with the soldiers during the Revolutionary War. And an inscription was on Boylston's tomb that identifies him as introducing inoculation to America. In 2016, medical science came to know of the contribution of Onesimus to medicine. Onesimus was named among one of the best Bostonians of all time by Boston Magazine in 2016. Now we'll hear a selection from Harvest, and then we'll have Mr. Sims come to the podium.
While they're coming up, I certainly like to put in my word honoring Mr. Senator Jordan and all the contributions that I know he's made to the community, because he's made a lot of to my life personally. I worked with the fire department and started at an early time. And you can imagine the types of things that I endured. But I always had him there as my champion to keep things going.
Just a little talk with Jesus will make it all right. All right. Just a little talk with Jesus will make it all right. All right. Have a little talk with Jesus. Tell him all about your trouble. Talk with Jesus will make it all right. Just a little talk with Jesus, make it all right. Just a little talk with Jesus, make it all right. Have a little talk with Jesus, tell him all about your troubles. Talk with Jesus, make it all right. I once was lost in sin, but Jesus took me in. Just when I could heaven feel my soul. And he wrote my name above. Talk with Jesus, make it all right. All right. It's 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 all right. All right. It's all right. All right. I just talk with Jesus. All right. Make it all right. All right. I just talk with Jesus. Make it all right. All right. I know it will. All right. Yes, it will. All right. I cried. All right. When I was sick in my body, I was gonna get well. All right. I just talk with Jesus. All right. Baby, all right. All right. Yes, it is. All right. 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 All right.